Hello, hello, hello. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. This is Addiction Freedom class number 4, and it is for B. It's private, so if you're not supposed to be here, go away. If you are supposed to be here, you know it. And glad to have you, of course. So let's just see how things are looking in our mastermind group room, in the TAP training room. For B in about 2 minutes. Okay. So, exciting things are happening. Definitely have new information, some very interesting things that I learned from the book Inside Rehab, as I shared some with you in our last class. I have more for you today. So we'll just give it a couple minutes until everyone's in here so we can get started. Some of you may be listening to this on a replay, and if you are, when you chat in the chat room, the message gets emailed to me. And sometimes I guess it might be hard to know if you're watching live or if it's a replay. So I can tell you that I'm live right now. But you may be watching this and it may not be live. If you are the only person in the chat room, you're probably not live. So how about that? How about that? Yes, indeed. So the Addiction Freedom Project, one of the interesting things about it, while we're waiting to get started, is that there are a lot of organizations that will do research and studies and help us put together a really good, credible study on how our work would affect addicts, and also on the technicalities of relapse prevention, because what we're doing is relapse prevention, obviously. So I have some of those organizations' names, and I'm going to contact them. I'm going to look at them specific to Colorado, but I'll probably also get information about other states, which will help all of us. Yes, it will. It's really quite interesting how many organizations there are that are looking to help innovate addiction treatment, and they're looking for new ways and looking for people such as you to help them do that. We'll talk about that a little bit today as well. All right. So let's see. There's Bob. There's Ed. There's Darren. Yay! So far, we've got a few people popping on in. So feel free to chat or ask questions while we're waiting for everybody to arrive. Is a great time to do a little Q&A if you have any questions or needs. If there's anything you're not sure of and that you need some help with, please be sure to let me know. So Bob and Edward and Darren. Boy, Edward, you are one faithful viewer. You're going to be so well trained. You'll know this stuff inside and out, which is pretty awesome, actually. And you're going to be able to tell people all the good things that you know about this. Okay, so we'll just wait another couple minutes for everyone else to pop in. We will. And let's see. Darren. Making notes, I am. And Bob, I think you're Robert Bees, right? The one that says Bob? I think we only have one Bob, I'm pretty sure. I want to make sure that I know who everybody is, where they're from, because, I keep asking, like, oh, Australia, who is in Australia, and stuff like that. So I have a nice list. It's many pages long because we have many, many students now. But we're getting there. Mary, you made it! Yay! Mary, Mary, Mary. Awesome. Let me just find you on here. So Mary is in Ireland. She's in Dublin. Yay! And I think that Mary had some confusion on whether or not she was attending live or not, but I'm so glad to see you. Vanessa! We're almost ready to get started, everybody. Just waiting for everyone to pop in. And I'm checking to see everybody who is here. This is getting to be a long list. I don't know how I'm going to manage all this exactly, but I'm working on it. I need an assistant. Anybody wants to move to Boulder and be my assistant? So hello to Jared again. And Joanne. Lovely. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and let it rip. Okay, ready? Hi, I'm Wendy Friesen. As you probably know, this is class 4B for the Addiction Project training, and it's a private training. Our Facebook page is TAP Space Training, and you should all be on that page, which I assume you are. If you're watching this as a replay and you type any questions into the chat room, they will be emailed to me. Lucky me. So, very nice to see everyone in here. Oh, Mary says you say it so well, Dublin. Did I say that good? I want to come there. And yeah, I really want to come to Ireland. And I was working on finding a place to do a training in Ireland because I have a lot of people who want me to come there and do that. And I found these castles that you can, like they're vacation houses, but they're actually castles, and we can rent the entire castle to have our training in. Wouldn't that be so cool? We'll stay there for a few days. Yeah. So, Mary says, just coming in to say hi, won't be able to stay for the whole event. Okay, well that's all right, as long as you watch the recording, because this is the actual training that you really, really need. All right, we've come a long way so far in the first 3 classes. Little side note, class 2, which we had problems with the internet connection, I'll possibly redo that class. Hang on one second. I think I had lipstick on my teeth. Okay, so class number 4, I think there's some things that I need from you that I want to start with. I need your photo and your short bio and your contact information. There is a page that will have your information that will link from the Addiction Project to your personal page. Now, the place that you're going to put this is on the form, and I'm not sure that all of you have that form link. If you don't, go to the TAP page in the Facebook and you'll find it there, or it's probably on one of your emails, but I'll make sure you get it. You're going to enter that information into a form, not in an email to me. We are going to have a page for everybody. We need a nice picture from you, a good bio that is about your addiction freedom work, and the page that we link to that goes to your page, they need to land on a page that is about drug and alcohol addiction. Okay, it's not going to go to your general website. We want it to be a page that is specific about how you are an expert at that, the classes that you're offering, when they start, or how they get to be your private client. All right. Also, this is going to be used for future printing when I personalize the workbooks when you reorder them, and for your brochures when you reorder them. Right now, you're going to have to personalize them yourself, and I give instructions to do that. Business card printing. I put some blank templates for business cards and postcards, and it's the graphic and the Addiction Project stuff, and then you can give that to someone to put your information into, or if you know how, you can do that yourself. If you need a really inexpensive way to do that, you can use Fiverr, which Fiverr.com. They do things for $5, and they'll set up the text onto your business cards. When you go to the form that is about what you're offering, you'll see that it says that you can offer the private client, group workshops, free workshops, a 4-day intensive, training in rehab center, things like that. So you should probably offer all of them, but if you're not comfortable doing that yet, you can just say that you offer private work with clients and the 4-day intensive or something like that. Okay. Hi, Vanessa. You have double sound. That's not good. I hate double sound, but good to see you here. And Susie, yay. I don't know what to say about your double sound. Maybe you want to close it and open it back up again, or mute your mic. That might be the way to go. All right, so we want to talk about your elevator pitch. So your elevator pitch, and I know that this series of classes is back-to-back right now, so it's a little tough to get everything done, because I know you all got lives as well. But your elevator pitch should be uploaded to the Facebook page, the TAP training page, and I'm going to look at that right now. You know, I think if you do want to mute your mic, I think on the screen that you're looking at on this training, if you move your mouse up, you'll see a little thing that drops down, and it will have a microphone thing to mute that. On the training page, there is someone who shared their elevator pitch. So Ellen Adamayurka-Patton, we're going to use her elevator pitch and talk about it. She's going to have to be as a guinea pig because I'm not sure if anybody else uploaded theirs. Did any of you upload your elevator speech, pitch? Okay, so one thing to remember about your elevator speech is it is absolutely crucial, no matter how good you are at what you're doing and how well trained you are. If you meet someone and you only have a 30-second introduction, you have to nail it. You have to establish yourself as an expert, be very clear on what you do, and have a really great ending and a way and a reason for them to contact you. So this person may be someone that is a potential client for the Addiction Freedom, or they know someone who is. Everyone knows someone who's struggling with addiction, I guarantee you. They either have a family member, a close friend, or someone they work with, and the potential is there, even if they don't have an addiction problem, that they know someone that really needs help. And they may be very frustrated and tried everything, and they just need something that's a great solution. Okay. So now, your elevator pitch is very, very important. So let me read to you the one that is from Ellen. And I don't think Ellen's here, but she's going to be hearing it on the replay. All right. Here is her first one that is for professionals. This would be something she'd say to counselors or therapists or colleagues. She says, "There's a huge myth about people who struggle with addictions or alcohol. The belief is they just can't quit, and if they could quit, they'd be fine. In truth, they're indeed great quitters. They are experts. They quit their addictions all the time, but then go back to using. This cycle makes them feel like failures and feeds a negative revolving door pattern. The underlying problem that needs to be addressed is that they don't stay quit. What they need to do is learn how to stay straight and sober and create a new life and identity as a former addict. The stats clearly show that AA and your typical rehab treatment programs have not been effective for most. Only about 5 to 10% are successful a year later. Honestly, who would take Tylenol if it only worked 10% of the time? Clearly, this is very sad and very costly in both financial costs as well as the toll they take on the individuals, their families, and society at large in both obvious and subtle ways. We need to fully acknowledge that these results are a reflection of the inadequate treatment programs, not the individuals. However, the good news is that there's a viable and proven alternative that is at the forefront of making great change in how we see and treat people with addiction. As a trained relapse prevention expert as part of the Addiction Project, it's a treatment approach that's based on neuroscience, has proven very beneficial to many people who have struggled with addictions of various sorts for years. I would be delighted to tell you more about this program. It's exciting, innovative, and cutting-edge work. It's definitely worth your while. Okay, so great information in there, Ellen. However, it's way too long to start with. So let's go over this. Remember, your elevator pitch. 30 seconds. It's called that because you get in the elevator and here's the guy or the woman who's handing out the millions of dollars of grant money for addiction research and says, you know, we're just looking for someone new that can innovate this method and this process, and they're going to go up 3 or 4 floors, and you have to catch their attention before they get off the elevator, right? 30 seconds. So, unfortunately, Ellen's elevator pitch is brilliant, but it's way too long. Okay, the other thing that she hasn't done is established herself as an expert first. We don't know right off the bat who she is and what she does. So if I say, hi, I'm Wendy Friesen. I founded the Addiction Project, which is a program for drug and alcohol addiction that is innovating and changing the way the entire world treats addiction. Okay, there I establish myself as an expert, and it doesn't have to be in those words for you, but you establish yourself as an expert, what you do, and it's very specific. So now that person knows if they want to listen closer, if it has their interest, if it's something they're the least bit interested in. Then you can go on to tell them what it is that you do. And it's just got to be short and to the point. So, did anybody else do their elevator speech? Okay, yeah, Susie, you just got you got into the TAP group. There is a thing at the top where you would post, like, just whatever you want to post, but right above that it says files. So it's pretty easy to add a file. All right, let's see. Who else has an elevator speech? I'm going to open up the form where, oops, where several people have put in brilliant elevator speeches, and let's see if we can find some. All right. Hang on, only take me a second here, I promise. The bio, oh, the exam, that's right, it's in the exam. You have to write your elevator speech into your exam. Okay, so many people have rewritten this and worked on it. Remember, I said your first try at it is probably going to suck a lot. That's life, but we're going to nail it, because otherwise you would never do this, and you would probably never take the time to really make it really good. Okay, let's see. Where is? Okay, here we go. This one. Oh, okay, that one's no good because she wrote an ad, not an elevator speech. Remember the difference? If you write it as an ad, it's definitely not an elevator speech. Okay, we're going to try Pat. Obviously, I did not exactly prepare to find the ones I want, but it's okay. We're all here. We're having fun. We're reading. Okay, here we go. Here's one that's nice and short. This is from Patricia. It says, Hi, I'm Patricia, hypnotherapist with Integrity Coaching and Training Systems, and I use hypnosis, NLP, and the latest knowledge about the brain in a powerful and revolutionary new program that frees addicts from the fear of relapse, ends the cravings, and triggers for good and creates a life they love. Are you ready to quit for good this time? Okay, this is kind of more of an ad as well, because she's not establishing herself as an expert in addiction freedom and hasn't mentioned that she is a relapse prevention expert right in that first line. And then she's asking, are you ready to quit for good this time? So not so much giving them really what they need. So let me read another one. Okay, let's see. Boy, there's got to be one person who's got a really, really good one in here. You are graded on how good your elevator speech is. Okay, here we go. It's from Renee Brent. Now this is, you're introducing yourself and someone says, hey, what do you do? And she says, my name is Renee Brent. I'm a hypnotherapist and I help people who have addiction issues recover and live the life they love, a life where they feel strong, healthy, and in control. I have people very close to many who have struggled with addiction. I have people very close to many who have struggled with addiction, and some have lost their lives. Because of that, I am passionate about treating addiction with a positive new approach. This is a method where we use the power of the mind to change the behavior. We open up an entirely new awareness about how the mind works and how limiting beliefs affect our behavior. My clients gain self-awareness, then it gives them the power to make different choices. This approach has been very successful. I empower my clients because all great change comes from within. So that one's pretty good. It's long. And I'm going to look at Minerva's, see if that one is a reading one. Okay. All right. Here we go. This is Minerva's 30 seconds, nice and short. Hi, my name is Minerva Collier, and I'm a hypnotherapist. I help people end their struggle with drugs and alcohol addiction. It doesn't matter how many times they've tried to stop before and failed, because this time it's different. I use hypnosis and a powerful program created by Wendy Friesen called the Addiction Freedom Program. In this program, my clients are given amazing tools and a new awareness about how the mind works. As a result, my clients are able to end their struggles with addiction and experience permanent change. They're able to regain their freedom back and create a life they really want and love. So that one could be longer than, it's probably longer than 30 seconds, but very, very good. It ends on a nice note. She says they are able to regain their freedom back and create a life they really want and love. What a great feeling that leaves you with, right? So whether you were saying this to a counselor or therapist or a client or a family member, there's something in it for everyone. She's up above says it doesn't matter how many times they've tried to stop before and have failed, because this time it's different. I use hypnosis and a powerful program called the Addiction Freedom Program. Okay, so you understanding what needs to go in there? Let's look at Pamela Fay. She's pretty brilliant, this one. Let's see what she did for her. Okay, Pam looks like she nailed it. And this is the last one I'm going to read to you, and I want you guys to really get what I'm looking for in the elevator speech. Because again, it doesn't matter how good you are or how much of an expert you are if you can't tell somebody that. And you can't tell them every time you hand them their card. If you sound wishy-washy, your confidence, your credibility, not there. If you have a great elevator pitch and you can nail these points, they're going to say, wow, I totally want what she has. I totally want what he has. Ready? Okay, hi, my name's Pam. I have a hypnotherapy practice in Lake Oswego. I help people who are sick and tired of struggling with the pain of addiction regain control of their lives. This isn't your typical 12-step program. No one should have to hit rock bottom or surrender their dignity before they quit destroying their lives and hurting the people they love. I guess you can tell I'm a bit passionate, right? It's not just me. I'm part of a worldwide team. Our program, Addiction Freedom, is one of the most effective, science-based relapse prevention programs available. But more importantly, the people who have completed Addiction Freedom tell me they feel strong, healthy, and in control, maybe for the first time ever. It's good, right? That's a good one. It's a goodie, my good story here. Yeah. Okay, did you get it? Get it? Get it? Yeah, yeah. The feedback, I will give you all lots and lots of feedback. Let's see if I can, if this, yeah, there we go. There's Pam's. I will give you lots of feedback about this, and I'm not going to dance around it. I mean, I'll tell you if it's good, but I'll also tell you if it's like you totally missed it. You missed the entire point. Do it again. So Susie just posted it. Yay! Was this the, oh, let me see. Was this the first one? No, Ellen was the first one. Let's see here. I'm not seeing it in there yet. But anyway, good for you for doing it. You know, just take this on and make a point of getting this stuff done. I know it's a lot to do in a short time, but I want to make you guys experts. I want to launch this nationally and internationally. I have possibly an opportunity with someone Vanessa's working with in Australia that is the head of this whole entire nationwide organization in Australia looking for new addiction treatment possibilities. And then there's some organizations here in the US that are looking for addiction studies and innovative treatments. So I'm going to also share with you just a quick bit of information. Whoops, not that. From the book, I did tell you some things yesterday from that book, remember? The Inside Rehab, which is on this iPad. I would recommend you getting it. It's there's a lot of reading. I'm about halfway through, and I'm just grabbing the really good parts. Um, all right. So a lot of the rehab centers don't even tell their clients that there's an alternative, no matter what the alternatives are. Women in recovery, smart recovery, other things. They actually say, I don't know, 12-step is the only way. And they convince people that it is the only way. So here's one of the things I read that I thought was quite interesting. Not informing clients that there are alternatives to AA and the disease model can actually harm people when they're led to believe that if they don't connect with the established approach and therefore don't do well in treatment, it's because of a personal failing. So remember, every time someone fails at 12-step treatment and they keep going back, they're told it's because they didn't hit bottom, or they didn't hit their bottom, or they didn't work the program. If they work the program works. They didn't work the steps. Or they didn't surrender. Okay, so it goes on to say, there's a show called Celebrity Rehab. It's not on anymore, but Celebrity Rehab's Dr. Drew Pinsky, who's been known to say that the 12 steps are mandatory and the cornerstone of sobriety, and that you can't stay sober without this, illustrated this blame the victim mentality in a CNN interview shortly after the death of Amy Winehouse. He said, people look at these stories and go, oh, addiction treatment doesn't work. The crazy thing about addiction is part of the disease is a disturbance of thinking where the addicts themselves convince themselves that they don't need to listen to or do what they're being told to do, which is the thing that says that's your addiction talking, right? If they simply do the recovery process on a daily basis, just simply do it, they will be fine, just the way a diabetic is fine if they take their insulin 3 times a day. Dr. Drew just doesn't seem to get it, that sometimes, dare I say, oftentimes, it is the treatment and what they're being told to do that fails the addict. Now, what you have to understand is that the treatment centers are begging for something different, something innovative, something that they can do. That addiction counselors are very poorly trained and regulated. They're supposed to be doing things that are helping their clients, but some of the research I talked about on the mastermind group earlier today showed that with the research that's been done to find out what's really being said in even the private counseling sessions and the group therapy sessions, it's chit-chat. There's nothing constructive, and relapse prevention is simply not talked about. So let's see. A number of people in treatment talked about how little individual counseling they received. Eddie attended an outpatient program whose website maintained that treatment is individualized and that they focus on the strengths of each client. However, he said, we're all grouped together as addicts who could all recover by the same program. I had 2 scheduled one-on-one meetings. That's for an entire month. In one, we talked about the expectations for the group. And the other was just to make sure I had my homework turned in and all of their I's were dotted and their T's were crossed. I really can't imagine how any of them could have known what my strengths or weaknesses are. I've heard this personally from my oldest son, Sean, when he's been in rehab many, many times. They really just pretend. And they're getting so much money for it. So $30,000, $40,000 to see if your homework's turned in that qualifies as a private session. So it's kind of interesting here. Most studies indicate that the majority of people with alcohol problems are aware of the problem for as long as a decade before seeking treatment, indicating that opportunities exist for reaching some people earlier. Okay, this is the last one, and then we're going to get busy on our class notes. There's a magazine called Counselor Magazine, and this is for addiction therapists. In a recent Counselor Magazine interview, Dr. McClellan went so far as to recommend that addiction treatment be formally declared a distressed industry, explaining we don't have near the number of trained professional counselors, social workers, and psychologists working in the addiction field that we need right now. Second, a significant proportion of these people who are working are at or near retirement age. Third, we don't see new people standing in line to enter this field. On another occasion, McClellan said, counselor and director turnover in addiction treatment programs is higher than in fast food restaurants or among the help that cleans hotels. When I asked Homer L. what happened after leaving his outpatient program, the first thing he told me was that the counselor he liked so much had left for another job. So did the next counselor. Okay, so these are just a few little excerpts, and I've only read half the book. There is a bigger disaster within the rehab industry than we know. They don't have good counselors. They don't have methodologies. Earlier today, I said that a lot of these counselors, when they're going to do their group meetings, they found out that they're going and try to Google something and find something they can hand out last minute. They don't have a methodology. So you can be an expert and offer them a methodology and have confidence that what you're giving them is by far better than practically anything else. Now the place to look at is Smart Recovery and Practical Recovery. So Practical Recovery is Dr. Horvath, who does a very good program that is not 12-step, and it's a methodology. He's also now apparently the CEO of Smart Recovery. So, all right, we did that. Let's review expectation a little bit. Expectation, remember that you want to maybe create some bullet points for your conversation when you're on the phone or an inquiry that you have with someone in a consultation. So what kind of bullet points would you want to have with that client? And we talked about this yesterday in the last class. You want to make sure that you are letting them know how they're going to feel. You're going to use hypnotic language patterns to say things like, most people feel this and some people experience this. And I think that, you know, in about a month from now, when you're feeling this immense freedom, you're going to look in the mirror and blah, 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 right? Those things that we talked about in yesterday's class. Would you be willing to create those bullet points so that you can look at those and have those when you talk to someone on the phone, or they're rehearsed and in your mind when you talk to them in person? Would make it so much easier than trying to wing it. Share them on the Facebook page so that we can all get better together. Yes, indeed. Okay, so what would be some of those bullet points that you would want? You can type them into the chat room. What would you think are some that would help your client to feel confident in you, to have expectation that you're the right person, that they're going to get better really fast, and that is very true. They are going to feel better really fast, that the success is beyond anything they've experienced. You're not saying, I guarantee that this is going to make you quit doing drugs or drinking. And you're going to be very careful to let them know you're not treating their addiction. You are doing relapse prevention. So go ahead and type in what you think one of the bullet points could be for you that you'd share with everybody to remind yourself of what to say. For instance, a bullet might be, tell them how they're going to feel in the future. Okay? Of course, this isn't for the client to see, but this would be for you to see. All right? So type those in right now. And then we're going to talk about the phone inquiry if they call you on the phone. That's one of the ways that you're going to use the bullet points. So the goal of talking to them on the phone is to have them come in and be your client. Do you do a free consultation? When they come in and meet you, they can feel if it's a fit and they can find out if they feel confident in your environment. Is your office professional enough? Does it give you more credibility, or is there anything there that kind of loses credibility for them? Do you see them in your house, which would be a big problem, I would think, for most in this kind of a piece of work? What do you want your client to feel and think? Remember, we talked about that. We want them to feel absolutely confident. We want them to know you're an expert. We want them to know that the work that they're going to do with you is not going to be real quick, wham, bam, and then you're gone. You're going to stick with them. Because remember, the excerpt that I read from that book, those addiction counselors are gone. They just keep finding better jobs because it's a very low-paying profession, which is really weird. When people are paying $30,000 for a month to come and go to 12-step meetings, that there's not better counselors. in there. I guess it's not that glamorous of a job, but we're going to do something different. Happy and fun and amazing. Okay. So future pacing their outcome, remember to do that, and the phrases that you'll need to use, all right? And don't plan on winging it. So go ahead and type in the chat room what some of the bullet points are that you would say to your clients when you're talking in person or you're doing a phone like consultation in that initial part. Okay, so that is what I have on my list as your homework. Creating a list of statements that you need to share with a potential client on the phone or another first contact. Okay, I think, let's see, I'm going to look real quick at my list here while you guys are typing. Kathy, I don't think I've seen you in the classes yet. Congratulations. Thank you for being here. Kathy says, personal experience, family member struggled, and professional experience in addiction for smoking and food. Right. Now, the other thing to do, Kathy, is your professional experience. Since you're part of the Addiction Freedom training, make sure that your professional experience includes all of the experience of this organization. So it doesn't have to be you personally, but you can say the Addiction Freedom Program it has been used worldwide with thousands of people with tremendous success for over 10 years. And it is science-based and evidence-based, and it really does work. And I'm an expert at relapse prevention, okay? So you're aligning yourself with that experience, but also your personal experience, absolutely. And Jared, talk about the future self that is addiction-free, waiting for you to embrace. That the addict in you is only some parts of the personality, not all of you. And that's why this approach is so successful. Well, you know, there's a kind of a fine line. You're saying it right. The addict in you is only some parts of the personality. But we want to get them away from that identity thing that you are not an addict. So your bullet point might be you're not an addict, because you're going to make sure that you tell them that. And you could tell them that by saying it's some parts of your personality, but not all of you. But I'd rather hear you say something like, you know, a lot of people are taught to believe that they are an addict for life and they're always in recovery. That's not who you are. Those are some things that happened to you and some big mistakes you made. But we want to find out who you are now, and we want you to be someone who's strong and happy and powerful and passionate about life. And that's where we're going to go, and that's why it's so successful. Okay, so keep on typing, everybody. Keep on typing. This is an interactive class. Remember, if you're watching the replay, go ahead and type your answers in, and they'll get emailed to me. Here's something we need to look at for their first session. When a person comes in for the very first session, whether it's a group or an individual, what is your commitment? And this is in your notes, because I know you all printed out your notes, so underline these things. What is your commitment to them? Now, this may vary, and we might want to work on a statement that's specifically for that. What is your commitment for them? What is their commitment to you? So you want to establish this as a baseline. If you're doing this with a group, it's going to be very powerful, because each person in the group is going to express their commitment, and they're all going to learn from each other. Your commitment and their commitment. Integrity. What are the rules for integrity? And honesty. Will the honesty be 100%? And how are you going to make sure that they are keeping to their commitment for honesty and integrity? Establish what your role is. And what is your role? Certainly it is to be a guide. It's to help them learn how their brain works. It's to help them get strong and healthy. Your role is to be there as support, to call them every day when they're during the period of time where you're doing your accountability calls. How available are you? Are you going to tell them that 24 hours a day, if you're having a crisis, here's my phone number, you can call me? Or are you only available between noon and 4 for client questions and calls? or are you available by email or Facebook, whatever, okay? And knowing the response about potential relapse, how you're going to talk to them. Okay, let me read some of the comments. Okay, so Bob says, here's a bullet point. How do you think hypnotherapy will help you with overcoming your addiction? Right, that's good. Find out what their expectations are first. And they may not know the answer to this, but it'll be very interesting to see what they say. How do you think hypnotherapy will help you with overcoming your addiction? So we do want to know what their expectations are. What you want for them might be very different than what they want for themselves, right? So thank you, Bob, for sure. Susie, one of the magic moments is often when you wake up in the morning in a few days or even sooner and realize you're feeling so much healthier and positive, proud and clear-headed, really looking forward to the day. Wow. You know, and for an addict, that's very powerful, Susie, because they don't feel that way, right? They like never feel that way. So that is very excellent as well, and I want to make a note. And someone's going to copy and paste the entire chat as well, so we have it. I can't find Susie on my list. Giving out extra credit points, but where'd she go? I know she's on here. There she is. So you get what she's saying. She put them into that moment, made them feel it and experience it, and added words that really got them to envision it. Susie says, Bob's got a nice embedded command in his question. Yeah, he does. So I'm going to read it again. How do you think hypnotherapy will help you with overcoming your addiction? Because he says that it will help you. That is a very, very good question. Okay, so feel free to continue to type in things that you think should be on the list of those things that you want to remember to say. Okay. All right, client intake form. It's the next thing on my notes. We don't have one as a group, and I want to have one as a group, and I have not worked on that, so we should work on that somehow. If we want to start a discussion on it on the Facebook page, that would be a great idea. Or if anyone has an intake form that they use, that they could adapt it to addiction specifically. I haven't seen clients in a long time, so I don't have an intake form anymore. But create a really nice shared intake form. Okay, and then the next thing on the notes is about the SWISH process, but we're going to go to the timeline right now. So the future timeline. In the booklet, or the workbook, remember this is called the workbook. The blue one is the manual. That's your manual for training, but this is the workbook. In the manual, there are sessions that are for the future timeline work. The future places where they're going to be writing down what's going to happen in their future. And they're going to write down what's happening at 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. And in our next class, we're going to go through this manual piece by piece. But anyway, the timeline, oh, that's the past. Where's the future one? Future self of the identity. Where is it? Come on. Okay, well, it's in there. So what happens in the future timeline is that you have 4 categories. And in those 4 categories, you want to get them to do the writing before you do the future timeline work. And this is one you want to do with them in person. You can do it with a group or individually. In those categories, we want to have them write specific outcomes. One is for health, their mental and emotional state, their success, and spiritual. So when you help them with this, you want them to be specific. You don't want them just to say, my health is great. You want them to be specific. Did you lose 20 pounds, or are you exercising every day? Or did you decide to have a nutritional regimen that's going to really repair your brain and your body? How is it going to feel? Get very specific. Of course, they're not going to make these huge sweeping changes at 1 week or 1 month, but you're going to help them put reasonable outcomes, okay? And their mental state is that they feel motivated, or they have a lot of focus, and they feel like they have a lot of direction, or maybe they got really organized about how they're going to go about their day. Emotional is that they're not suicidal anymore. They really feel like living, and they're projecting this into the future, but that's what you want them to do, and you want them to do it with very specific feelings and experiences. Emotional for someone might be, I'm reconnecting with my kids, and the time I spend with them is really quality time, and I'm letting them know by showing them how much I love them, right? So you're going to help them with this. They're not going to put so much into each, oh gosh, they're mowing the lawn. I have to close the window. Hold on. So they're not going to put so much into each category that it's not feasible to do it. And that's your job, is to make sure that each of these categories is doable. So if you're doing it for 1 week in the future, there's some really important things to have in there, but don't overdo it so they don't feel like it's not possible. Success. The success one is going to be about what they're achieving or accomplishing. Business, money, a job, or personal success, accomplishing something they've been putting off or avoiding. So each one, again, is something that's achievable and doable, and make sure it's, you know, within the realm of possibility. If they say, well, I want to make $1 million, or I just want to be rich, well, you're going to have a little talk with them about that. Say, that's nice, but we got to do something that we know we can achieve absolutely for sure. How do you want to do that? What's one of the steps you'd like to achieve in 1 month from now that would help you be on your way to doing that? Spiritual. Will that have to do with forgiveness, or doing yoga every day? Or for them, will it mean that my spiritual commitment is that I'm going to stick with this program, and every day I'm going to do every single thing that is asked of me so that I can experience a spiritual renewal? So what is their spiritual commitment? Okay. And then it says in the notes, which you printed out, of course, what is needed to make these valid and workable outcomes. And that's what I was just talking about. Make them specific. Don't let them be grandiose or too vague. Future timeline outcomes create future memories. How much leading will you do in those future timeline moments? So the process that you'll be using for the future timeline is going to take them from this present moment, have them float up over a timeline into the future, and they're going to perhaps feel or see or experience that timeline. Not too much emphasis on seeing it, because a lot of people, that glitches them out because they're like, I don't see anything. So you say, just notice this timeline. Experience that timeline. It may be a beam of light, or a path on the ground, or it might be a ribbon of colors, or it may be just a feeling that you're moving forward into the future. And when you're floating over that moment that is 1 week in the future, I want you just to float right down. Let your feet touch down right now. 3, 2, 1. Let your feet touch down right there. And here you are now. And just put them in the present moment in that future, right? Here you are now at this moment 1 week in the future. So notice that wording. Here you are at this moment now, 1 week in the future. It's a nice way to get them to orient themselves as if it's a present moment. Now, at this moment, notice what you're experiencing, and make sure it's always now, 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 okay? And don't say something like, what are you going to feel 1 week in the future? Don't do that. Okay, so notice what you're experiencing now, and notice how much better you feel after just 1 week. What was the really important thing that you did that allowed you to feel this good physically? And let them answer. And say, notice the things that you did that showed you that you kept your commitments. How proud do you feel? What is that like after just 1 week? So now what you did is you embedded some accomplishments, and you ask them the questions that are leading questions that say, how good does it feel to know that you kept your commitment for the entire week. Okay, so Susie says, lost everyone's great suggestions. Could you copy them, please? Ed has been awesome about copying the entire chat and posting it on the Facebook page. Yes. Yeah, when you relog in, the chat history goes bye-bye. Vanessa says, baby steps may be useful. Absolutely. And Vanessa, those baby steps are actually enormous for the addicts, right? Depending on how bad their addiction issues are. Like, you know, we've talked about the fact that some people are just problem drinkers, and they're going to come to you because they're problem drinkers. And they really need help just to quit, you know, pounding down that entire bottle of wine, or they drink more than 4 or 5 drinks in a night several times a week. So for them, they still might be a functional alcoholic or even a functional drug user, but they are still accomplishing things. So look at where they're at and realize that, as Vanessa says, those baby steps definitely are going to be huge for them. Okay, now, Vanessa, excuse me, I just burped. Vanessa said, I have a Tad James form. I adapted it. However, it could be improved. We should work on that. If you want to post it on the Facebook page, we'll work on that. Or maybe go ahead and improve it in whatever way you want, and then we'll go from there. Because our intake form is totally different than an addiction center's intake information. Because remember, we are not treating addiction. So our intake form has to be in alignment with that. And we need a disclaimer, you know, so for them to sign something. Kathy said, I have found that understand simple, strong, and hopeful resolutions combined with their own commitment to listen to the CDs. Found that they understand simple, strong, and hopeful resolutions. Yeah, I think you're talking about the things we're putting into that future timeline. Simple and strong and hopeful. Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes those simple things, like, you know, if they can't come up with something or theirs is too vague, and you want to give them something that's simple and strong and hopeful, as Kathy said, maybe you want to say, so what I'm hearing you say is that you'd like to really feel like when you hug your child, that you really mean it and there's nothing standing in the way, and you know you don't smell like alcohol and you have nothing to hold back, or when you look in the eyes of your wife or look in the eyes of your husband, or when you come home, you know, even though you're living in your parents' house and you're 35 years old, when you come home, your parents see it in your eyes that you feel proud of yourself, right? Is that something that you're saying that you would like to feel? Okay, so also notice the language in that. I'm sure you all are all brilliant at this. However, maybe you want to look at the way I ask questions and go ahead and use them for yourselves. Well, bye, Mary. Hope you listen to the rest of the class later. Say hello to beautiful Emerald Isle. All right. So that is basically the future timeline, and you can do the whole future timeline in one session. So after you've had them all written down and you've adjusted them, you can go into all these moments in their future timeline. Maybe you don't want to go like to too many points in there because it takes quite a while, but maybe you want to do 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. And in another session, you might want to take them 1 year, 2 years in the future, but you don't want to overwhelm them in one session. Baby steps, as Vanessa said. Okay. So manifesting. Okay, there's a really cool manifesting thing that I do. It's from my financial abundance training. And you could do this with your clients at any time. It's not something that's required, but towards the end of some of your sessions, like maybe when you've worked through the entire workbook, and you want to start adding on some things that are to help them really have fun and experience some really cool stuff. You can do some manifesting sessions. And one of the ways that I do a manifesting session, and I don't think I posted the audio to that, but I certainly could on the page, It's to create this ball of energy that's in your hands. So they are in trance, they're reclined in their chair, their palms are face up on their lap. And you've worked on many, many things, so it's easy for them to now start generating thoughts and ideas and experiences of what they'd like to manifest, what they would like to put out into the ethers, no matter how weird and crazy and woo-woo it sounds. Let's go ahead and put some stuff out there that you would really love to bring into your life, whether it's a beautiful soulmate or a really successful business opportunity, or to have a publisher offer to publish your book and you go on book tours or whatever their thing is. Well, so anyway, you have them feel this in their entire body and just really get the desire and the joy moving, and you ask that that's all comes up. It comes up, it comes up, it gets so big, and it right in that place where their third eye is, that place in the center of their forehead that is that beautiful place that's all about intention and manifesting and seeking, and it comes out of the middle of their forehead like a light, and it collects in their hands, those open palms that are on their lap, and they can feel that light beginning to swirl around and swirl, and in there are the things that they want and desire, that intention and that beauty and the gratitude they have for the healthy life that they're leading. So have them notice, like they've still got their eyes closed, but just say, notice what's inside of that beautiful ball of energy and that swirling, twirling light. And there's you in there. And notice what it is that you're doing that makes you so happy, that gives you such purpose in life. And notice the opportunities that create wealth and how worthy you are of these good things. Now, you do that for a little while and talk about how much pressure that ball is creating and how it's getting bigger, and they're going to feel it in their hands, and you're going to blow their mind because they're going to feel it getting bigger and bigger. And what you say is, you can feel it. The energy is getting so strong between your two hands. You can feel that ball expanding, almost as if it's pushing your hands apart. It's getting so big. Okay, so now this is, of course, the short version, and I'm pretty sure that you have a script to this somewhere, possibly in the manual. But if not, I will get it to you, because that's what I do. Okay, so now you say, in a moment, you're going to let this ball get so big that it's just going to burst and explode with every molecule having the information in it that's going to bring back to you whatever energy matches. And all of the particles in this ball are going to go out and seek out the matching opportunities, the people, the experiences, the accomplishments, everything you need, and they're all going to know exactly where to find it and come right back to you here. And you won't know exactly when it's coming back, but it might be a phone call you get, it might be a person you meet, it might be an idea that you have that comes from such an amazing creative place. So ready, on the count of 3, you're going to let that thing explode. Just fill it with so much intention and love and gratitude. Here it goes. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All those tiny sparkles and particles floating out there. They all have a purpose. They all know exactly where to go to find what matches and what supports you and what gives you everything that you could want and desire. So on and so forth. Vanessa says, prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex. Yes, indeed. Yeah, so that mind's eye, maybe your client is not too woo-woo, but you might talk about, that mind's eye is that place where we have amazing intuition. That's said to be that chakra where we know things that we didn't think we could know. That sort of thing. Okay, any questions about that? Any thoughts or needs about manifesting? And that would be later in the process for sure. We wouldn't jump in and scare them right off the bat by doing that. Because these people are like, oh boy, this person's a little whackety-do for me. See, I'm looking for, there's Robert's name. Okay. Make sense? Okay, any other thoughts, questions, or ideas about that one? We're going to move on to the Temple of Wisdom. Temple of Wisdom may or may not be in that workbook. This is another one that you could do at any time. Someone comes in and they're feeling really bad, or they decided last night they were going to try and kill themselves, but they figured they'd wait because they're going to see you in the morning, or they ran into a friend who is an addict and is just pressured the freaking hell out of them to go and shoot up, and they say it was this close, and I just don't know how to push through this. You, as their therapist, probably don't know how to answer that question for them, but you know how to help them find the answers. That's what you're an expert at. So when they were sitting in their 12-step meetings or going to the $35,000 rehab, someone was going like, la-di-da, did you do your homework? But no one ever answered the question, what happens when that person is there saying, oh, come on, dude, aren't you my friend anymore? Can't count on you for anything. Come on. Let's go get high. Come on, you know, you want it? Anyway, here's a process that you can use for just about anything that you can't answer. You don't know what direction to go with it because you have not been, you know, a strung out addict. Maybe you have. It's a temple of wisdom. And this is the next thing on your notes. Temple of Wisdom. Use this when the client has conflicts or needs answers to a really difficult problem. This is to help let the client find the answers. So the Temple of Wisdom is a nice metaphorical experience in what the temple is made of. You're not going to describe what the temple looks like. You're going to let them tell you. If you're doing this in a group, you're going to guide them to this temple and have them observe what's in there, what the outside, what it's made of, what the doorway's like, things like that. You're not going to suggest what it looks like, but after you're done with the session, you could ask them to get out their workbook and write down what the temple looked like, very specifically, the floor, the ceiling, the walls, the colors or lack of them, the door or the doorway. I want you to write down what all those things look like, and then we're going to talk about them. So what you're going to talk about is how those things represent the condition of their soul or their psyche. I've had people with a Temple of Wisdom where the floor was broken and full of holes, and it was just old wood that was so corroded and full of bugs, or temples of wisdom that have been burned out, and which is a reflection of what's happening in their own soul. Or some of them have beautiful artwork on the walls, and the doorway when they go in is a golden light, and when they come in it's just the ceiling that opens up into the universe, and all the things that those represent. It's pretty cool, huh? So the floor being that foundation, you know, the door being that safety or security or how tentative or how welcoming they feel. The walls being, you know, their current day and their current life and how they see the world, and that expanse of the roof or lack of it, and how that represents their spiritual connection with their life and their purpose. And then there's two pillows in the middle of the Temple of Wisdom. You have them sit down on one of the pillows, and in a moment, the one that is just the right person to help you and guide you is going to appear and sit on that pillow facing you. It may be someone that you know, it may be someone you've never met. It could be anyone. And that person will be your wise sage. It'll be your guru. It'll be the one that knows more about you than you know about yourself. Now you have to be careful not to say him or her. Be gender neutral. And this person that is coming to help you and assist you is someone that is very, very wise. And it is interesting that they do know spiritually, physically, emotionally what you've gone through, and all of the lessons that you've learned, and all of the really difficult things you've experienced, what you really want. So now as you're sitting there facing this person, and again, if there's a private session, you can say, so look in those eyes, and I want you to tell me who this very wise sage is. Okay, now a side note, write this down in your notes. It's good not to call it a guide, because some people get freaked out about spirit guides, and if you say the word guide, it becomes a spirit guide. Some people don't like guru, because a guru might be a cult, that they think of it as a cult. But you could say, well, and some people, the person sits down as Jesus, some of it, sometimes it's their grandfather who's dead, whatever. Or Virgin Mary, Mother Teresa. Okay, so I call it a sage because it's nice and neutral. Then let them have a conversation and say, you know, your wise sage knows that there's something you're struggling with and knows exactly the just perfect right thing for you right now. So as you're looking in those eyes, first I want you to have gratitude that your sage is here for you. And now I want you to ask the sage the question about what you should do and what you're feeling. So just take a moment to do that now silently. And so they take time to silently ask that sage, how am I ever going to keep resisting the offers of heroin? I feel like I have to get rid of all my friends. And then but they do that silently. And then you say, now wait for the answer. And just notice that the sage has some really beautiful wisdom for you. And then you wait. And you assume that there's been an answer. And you say, now, I want you to ask the sage for something else that will help. Another thing you can do that will really help you to see this from a higher perspective. Something like that. And you have them have this conversation back and forth. And at the end of it, you have your client thank that very wise sage in whatever way feels best for them. And then say, now notice that this wise sage has a gift for you. In those hands, remember I didn't say in his hands or her hands, in those hands the sage has a really nice gift. It's exactly what you need right now. So hold out your hands and just receive it. Let the sage put it in your hands. Good. And as you feel it and notice what it is and its significance, you may know now that it has great meaning for you, something like that. Okay? And then when you're done with the session, you can ask them, what did the sage say to you? And you can have them write it down in their workbooks. If you're doing it with a group, they all get to write it down in their workbooks, and they get to share with each other a little bit about what they experienced if they want to. They don't have to. Since they're writing it down in the workbooks, they're doing the process that they might do by speaking it, right? Vanessa says, I use the ancestors for Indigenous Australians. Oh, I love that. Oh, man, that's awesome. Yeah, that's quite another thing that us Americans don't usually know much about. I read Mutant Message from Down Under many years ago, and it was fascinating. Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, these ancestors. Awesome, Vanessa. Wow. Okay. Bob says, hence the queue. Thought I was the only one. I'm using the downloaded stuff. Yeah, the workbooks and manuals have been sent out. Getting to the UK and Australia takes a little while. Susie, I think you're really new. I'm not positive. If yours was just sent out, it might be a few days. Yeah, because I think you're one of the newer ones so far. But anyway, they're coming. They're coming. Print out the manual. I know you don't have the workbook, but it will be there soon, soon, soon. I'll figure out if I can do a PDF of that manual so that you could see it and work through it. Okay. Vanessa says, I sometimes say guide or special guardian angel. Yeah, hopefully that's okay, but you want to kind of check first to make sure. And seriously, there's people who freak out about the spirit guide thing because they think that's like ghosts or entities or something. Not too many people, but you know what I mean. But just the word guide shouldn't be too bad. Okay. Where are we next? Let's take a break. Let's take a 5-minute break. Everybody run and go pee-pee. Grab a cup of coffee or tea. And we'll continue in 5 minutes. Boy, the lighting is really bad in this room. I'm in my kitchen because the internet is better in here. And we've had some internet problemos. All right, break time. See you in 5 minutes. And feel free to enter questions and answers in the chat while we're on break. So those of you who are new, who want to be in the mastermind group, you can certainly do that anytime. You don't have to have passed the course yet. Mastermind group is really helpful for us to get some business skills and goals and each week to accomplish things. You might be too new to be doing some of the commitments or the accountability things, but at least you'll be learning some of the things that I'm sharing with the others in the group. So we're going to wait a couple more minutes before we start. See if there's some more quotes from this book that I want to. Let's see. I wanted to find some more information that was about Dr. Horvath and some of the things he has to say. You know, earlier, the mastermind group, I talked about the educational lectures, and I want to get them in this class, even though you may have already heard them, those who are in the mastermind group. So while we're waiting for everyone else to get back from the break, I'm going to read this to you about educational lectures. And what this is this is from the book Inside Rehab. Most of the work that they do in the rehab for the price is people coming in and giving educational lectures on a variety of topics. This is not doing change work or cognitive behavioral therapy. It is simply educating them on something like the dangers of drugs. So I'm going to read this to you because it's pretty interesting, and then also it talks about dwelling in the past. Despite dozens of studies showing that they have no impact, the educational lectures. Educational lectures and films continue to be used as a mainstay of treatment. In a review of 381 research studies, such methods were found to be the least effective of the 48 approaches for treating alcohol problems. As already mentioned, the high-end residential rehabs I visited held lectures throughout the day and into the evening. Even at the outpatient program run by the prestigious rehab that Sadie was at, she said, after we all checked in, they typically showed a video of something and talked about it. It might be a video on step 1 of AA or the hijacked brain on drugs, which, you know, it's not experiential and it's not giving people a possible solution, but they are learning something about addiction. Do they need to learn all the stuff about addiction instead of learning how to actually change what's happening in their life and their brain? So another thing is about dwelling on the past. And this is from the author. The groups I observed dwelled far more on substance abuse and its consequences than on moving on or the bonuses of quitting. It's very important for you all to know. Eddie affirmed that a message he received at one program was, "You were born a drunk and you'll always be a drunk. Look at your life and the consequences of your actions." Very little time was spent on creating a future once you cleared an area in your life. I sat in on a group exercise that waxed into a discussion of war stories with clients sharing sometimes humorous anecdotes about how they tucked booze bottles away so others wouldn't find them. Even more lectures throughout the evening on spirituality. She says, I'm not an addiction counselor, but I couldn't help but think about how much more helpful it would be to hear some of the clients who were sober and what they did to stop the relapse. And Selena says, normally I'm not an insecure person, but they made me concentrate so much on all the negatives that I was starting to get insecure and want to use more. So, I'm not sure that's the one I was looking for, but we talked about SAMHSA, SAMHSA, HSA, which is an organization that helps to do research and improve the quality and availability of substance use disorder prevention and treatment. So SAMHSA has grants as well. It's a national organization, samhsa.gov. So hard to remember which one of these I've already read or not. Sorry about that. Clinicaltrials.gov does a thing where they find people who are interested in participating in studies on addiction. Clinicaltrials.gov is a registry of federally and privately supported clinical trials conducted in the U.S. and around the world. This registry provides information about a study's purpose, who may participate, and if participants are being recruited, locations and phone numbers to call for more details. Might be a great way to get started on doing some research. And possibly some other things. So I think I might have mentioned this. She says, consistent with my experience in a number of programs, a large amount of time was spent on discussion, with almost no time given to strategies to elicit change in clients' lives. While counselors reported that over the 12 weeks they mostly ran CBT groups, they also honestly admitted that they rarely spent time on activities for practicing CBT skills. Remember that CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. So the point of that is that they're not giving them the ability to put those skills into action or doing something that would give them the ability to prevent relapse, which is what all of these people seem to be asking for, and they're saying they're not helping me with relapse prevention. Although, remember I talked about psychodrama in a previous class, and that's their point, is let's do psychodrama to help them prevent relapse. However, they got it all wrong. They created more fear and more insecurity. Hypnotized them, they did. Jared says, I don't know how to make a landing or squeeze page to my bio. What do you suggest, Fiverr? Or this is where I start procrastinating since I don't know how to move forward. Yeah, you could find someone to make a one-page website for you very easily. I bet they do that. You have to write the copy, and you can certainly take some of the copy from the Addiction Project pages and reword it in your own words. You're a great writer, Jared. I'm sure you'll write something really, really powerful. So you could do that, but you have a regular website, I assume, or not? If you have a website, Jared, you could find someone who would just put an additional page on there. Clean language. Bob's making tea. All righty, ready? Let's continue on. Yay. We have 40 minutes left. All righty. So, nutrition. A lot of addicts don't know a lot about nutrition. So, people who are drinkers, especially beer drinkers, some alcoholics drink an extraordinary amount of beer. They don't eat much food because beer fills you up, and it does have some nutritional qualities to it and lots of calories, lots of yeast too, which creates a problem because the yeast craves sugar and it craves more beer in order to feed the yeast condition in their bodies. Most alcoholics really don't know anything about nutrition, and they really don't care if they're, pretty hardcore. Other people, the problem drinkers and habitual drinkers, they might still be eating good foods and getting healthy and getting good nutrition. There's a book called The Vitamin Cure for Alcoholism. And that gives specific supplements and nutrients. And in your manual, I have a list of a lot of the supplements, and it was taken from that book. So that's something that you could make a copy of and hand to your client. Say, I can't tell you to take supplements or not, but there is a great book called The Vitamin Cure for Alcoholism. It's going to help repair your brain and body and stuff like that. You might talk to them about the very basics of nutrition, that their blood sugar, when they haven't eaten enough protein or haven't eaten in a while, when their blood sugar dives, it makes them crave things. Their body really is craving protein and good nutritious food to get the blood sugar stabilized. But when they feel those cravings that are actually for nutritious foods, it feels like cravings for alcohol or perhaps for the drugs or cigarettes or whatever, but it's actually craving for good nutrition. So you want to make sure that they keep their blood sugar up by eating every couple of hours, something that has protein and something that is healthy, but also not to get thirsty. When you're thirsty, for someone who's an alcoholic, they feel that that thirst craving is associated with alcohol. And if they are thirsty, they're going to drink a lot more of it right away. So make sure that part of their commitment is drinking a lot of water, like for at least the first week or so they can feel what it's like. Even for drug addicts, if they're having cravings that are a result of low blood sugar or thirst, they're still going to mistake those for, oh, I want something, and they're going to get angry if their blood sugar gets low, and they're going to get edgy, and that'll even more make them want to do the drug or have some alcohol because they're feeling that, I just got to calm down this feeling. Make sense? You can talk to them about amino acids that rebuild their brain, but of course you can't recommend taking them, but you can hand them a sheet that is some possibilities. You could suggest that they begin juicing. Say you've got a lot of repairing to do in your brain and in your body, and vegetable juice is one of the things that can repair your cells really fast. So if you have a juicer and you want to do that, that'd be great, but if you don't know how, there's lots of juice bars. And it's not that you want to drink some big smoothie that's filled with 1,000 calories. You want to drink vegetable juice or a green smoothie that's all vegetables and really get the nutrients into your body. So, would you find a nutritionist in close proximity to you that would work with your client? And maybe they could have at least a couple of meetings with a nutritionist who can make really good recommendations for them and what they need. Because the addiction doctor, if they've gone to see an addiction doctor, is not going to talk about nutrition at all, unfortunately. But they really need to address the nutrition, and they need to give their brain what it needs. Now, in Chris Prentice's book, which is The Cure for Alcohol and Addiction or something, I've shown it to you a couple times. He's the one that opened Passages, which is the very expensive rehab. He has recommendations in there for supplements, a lot of amino acids and things that rebuild your brain. So you could get that information from there. You could share that information in the Facebook group and together get a really good list. Bob, absolutely. L-tyrosine, oh my gosh. And L-tyrosine is a natural antidepressant. When you take it, you will start feeling better right away. It needs to be taken with B vitamins. I think B something, I don't remember which one, but there's one of them that carries it to the brain. You don't want to take it on a full stomach. You take tyrosine on an empty stomach when it has the best chance to not compete with the proteins from other food to get to the brain the fastest. When you have proteins in your body and you take L-tyrosine, the proteins break it down and prevent it from getting to your brain. I've talked about L-tyrosine for many, many years, and people that I've told to go take tyrosine, they feel better within a day or two. It's an amazing, amazing thing. Bob's absolutely right. Bob, you get a gold star. Another one for awesomeness. Vanessa gives people a sheet on creatine monohydrate. Vanessa, can you give us a quick summary of what creatine monohydrate does? 5-hydroxy, 5-HTP, absolutely. 5-HTP is good for many different types of addiction. Hey Bob, these things you're typing in, if you can make a list and let's stick them in the Facebook group, and people can't just like go say, oh, take all of these, but at least they can do research. They know what they're looking for. GABA. GABA is I don't know if I can explain it properly, but when you're doing drugs or alcohol, the GABA in your brain is depleted, and it's very difficult for your brain to operate properly. And if you do a little research in GABA and addiction, you're going to see that this is one of the things that you really need to get the right levels of in your brain. And you can buy that over the counter, but get the right levels there so that your brain is getting what it needs. Susie says 5-HTP has health warnings. Yeah, and that's why you're not going to tell them to take these things. You can hand them a sheet of paper that has an explanation of what they do and why it's important. But you say, you know, you go to the health food store and or your Vitamin Cottage or whatever and ask them about these. Or you open that Vitamin Cure book or something, or send them to a nutritionist. Susie says, yucky doo-dahs. Who wants to hypnotize me to like the taste of veggie smoothies? I can do that. Yeah. I have people who hate vegetables so much. And I have a hypnosis session called the Appetite Zapper, and it gets your brain, it's from, what's their name? Andreas's, I think. It was in their book, Heart of the Mind. And it gets your brain to love eating vegetables. It's quite amazing. And it's a natural process of doing it, of getting your body to crave what it really wants. And I've had clients who, like, this woman was in my office, we did the process, and she goes home and she called me and she says, oh, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm cutting up vegetables. I didn't even realize. I never do that, and I'm eating them. My kids are coming home from school, and I want them to eat vegetables too. So I never do that. After the Appetite Zapper, another woman, when she got home, who ate a lot of candy, she says, Wendy, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I said, why? What's going on? And she said, well, I have this box of See's candy, which in America is like just these whatever boxes of chocolates. She says, and I keep them in a hiding place. They're not very well hidden, but anyway, if you know where they are. So I keep them in a hiding place, and I just got them out, but I don't want to eat them. What's wrong with me? Oh, I don't know. Oh, Susie loves vegetables, but not when they're pulverized. Put a banana in there. All right. Then there's something that's an acronym for not being hungry, thirsty, or tired, or something else. What is that acronym? Hungry. You know, when your blood sugar is low, when you are dehydrated and you get cravings from that. Tired and angry? Hungry? Angry? L or T? What would the L be? I think it's HALT, right? The acronym. Bob says take cod liver oil capsules. Oh, very good for you. Use coconut oils for cooking. You are right. Make smoothies. Use blueberries, avocado, spinach. Eat walnuts every day. Bob knows his stuff. In fact, Bob, if you wanted to contribute a one-page sheet that would be things that will help you feel better faster, and then a little disclaimer says check with your nutritionist or a professional at the health food store for any concerns about these. But for the most part, they are all fairly safe and natural. Lonely. That's it. Thank you, Melanie. Lonely, lonely, lonely. Melanie, I didn't even know you were here. You've been so quiet. Let me see here. I have your name on my list. Where'd you go? I'm just double checking everyone that they're all on the master list and trying to see who's attending the classes and such. So, okay, so Melanie, HALT and Lonely. And Melanie, you have a lot to contribute and to help us out with as well. I know you do. B12 replenishment. Brazil nuts are good for here, I think, except they taste like vomit. And magnesium. Oh my gosh, yes, magnesium. Oh, absolutely, especially if you've been drinking a lot. When you deplete the magnesium from your body from drinking, you get heart palpitations and such, and muscle cramps and things. So especially when you're detoxing, Oh yeah, Melanie, she did already take the classes, and yeah, so it's nice that you're listening in though. She's cleaning out her cupboards. Yay! All right, so there we have that. So Bob, thank you, and contribute that in the Facebook group as a file, uploaded as a file. So now we're going to talk a little bit about moderation and aversion, and moderation. People will ask you if they can drink or even use drugs in moderation. Some people, I was listening to a radio show this morning, and it was about functional heroin users, because heroin is such a big problem. And on this talk show, they were talking about it like it's the first time they've ever heard of this, which is really crazy, about the heroin use that's from the OxyContin and the opiates and all that. This isn't new news, but a lot of people don't know about it because they're not researching it, they're not looking into it every day, and they're not reading the press releases all the time, such as me and you are. So they were really shocked that people who used to use OxyContin for their opiate high, by crushing it, snorting it, injecting it, when they changed the coding of it so you couldn't crush and snort it anymore, they had to change to heroin. So when your client tells you this, don't freak out. Heroin is horrible, and the addictive qualities of it are insane, but you got to understand that it's very, very common right now. You know, people like that are doing heroin, it's not the junkie in the gutter anymore. It's a lot of really good people who went astray with the painkillers. You have to keep increasing your dosage just to feel normal. That's why when you heard about Rush Limbaugh on his Oxy, he was up to what they said was 100 pills a day or something, because you have to keep increasing the dosage or you don't feel good. So what was my point? Moderation. Probably heroin moderation is not going to work because you have to keep increasing the dosage. There's no maintenance level. And they can go and do Suboxone, which apparently the withdrawals from Suboxone are worse than heroin. If you read any of the forums online from people who have used it, they say, I wish I had just detoxed off of heroin and that was it. But they get on Suboxone, and it's incredibly hard to get off of. It's really, really tough, harder than heroin. So methadone, they can do methadone and be on methadone maintenance all their life. It's not your job to tell them to get off it or not. You know, I guess if it's working, that's better than being a heroin user. But you could talk to them about having a clean and healthy body and working on a goal towards that, and that they can decide at some point if they're going to wean themselves off of that. Okay, so moderation. Many drinkers want to drink in moderation. And they want to do that because they can't imagine their life without alcohol and without being able to have a glass of wine or have cocktails or go out with their friends for a beer. And you want to kind of dance around that issue, because ultimately your goal for them is to help them feel so good being free from alcohol that they wouldn't even consider putting it in their body or, you know, messing up their life or tempting themselves. So you can say, you know, there are a lot of people who, on their own, even though they were problem drinkers or alcoholics at some point in their life, that they quit drinking for a while, and then they have an occasional beer or an occasional glass of wine or a drink now and then. Some people do really well with that. Some people don't. Some people, as soon as they open that door to having a drink, it's like, boom, everything's back, and they're just, you know, back on the alcohol bandwagon. But for you, it might be something that will feel good for you to do moderation, but we need to wait a while. First, let's get you really clean and healthy. Most people feel that they're so healthy, they've lost their interest in alcohol, and they love their life so much without it, that moderation isn't even a possibility. So that's how you want to talk to them about it. If they come to you and they really are afraid of never being able to have a glass of wine again, and you give them, you know, this, no, the only way is abstinence, it's 100%. No drugs, no alcohol, you know, they might not want to be your client. You can let them decide. So now with the home program that I do that is just CDs, there are people who tell me they have alcohol in their fridge or alcohol in their cupboards, and they just forget to drink it. It's not an issue. So we're doing something that's turning off that switch that gets rid of the interest in even wanting to think about drinking it. Now, for me, when I made the Alcohol Freedom Program, I had wine every night. I had a couple glasses of wine every night, and it was clockwork, you know, come home from work and pour a glass of wine. But when I made the program, of course, whatever I make has an effect on me. And a couple weeks had gone by, and I had opened a cupboard, and there was half a bottle of wine or something. It's like, whoa, isn't that interesting? Huh, I haven't had anything to drink in a couple weeks, and here's a bottle of wine sitting in the cupboard. Hadn't even thought about it. What a nice feeling. So your clients may experience that. They think they're going to have a lot of fear and a lot of issues with whether or not they should drink. So another client says, you know, I wasn't planning on having anything to drink, but after I did your program, I realized that there was a 6-pack of beer in my fridge, and it was sitting there, and like friends would come over and they'd see this beer in my fridge and go, oh no, you're drinking again? Like, no. And he says, it's just sitting there, and it's the weirdest thing because, you know, I drank several 6-packs a day. And he said, so it'd been like a month and a half, 2 months, and I decided to taste the beer, see what it was like. Poured the beer in a glass. He said, I think I had 3 or 4 sips of it, just little sips, and then it sat there, and I didn't touch the rest of it. It wasn't because I was repulsed or anything. I just didn't want it. It just didn't do anything for me. So your clients might experience that, and they probably will. But you don't want to scare them off by saying, nope, no moderation. Just kind of leave that little loosey-goosey. Vanessa says methadone is more addictive than heroin. That is also something I have heard that is very true. So how do they get off methadone? And you know, to tell you the truth, I know very little about how people get off methadone. I don't know what you do. Do you just keep doing it forever and ever and ever? Seems pretty crazy. I don't know. I guess they do. I know that. I know it for the most part they just plan on continuing to do it. So this is great. All the suggestions for the supplement stuff. If we could create a protocol that we can give to our clients with a disclaimer, that would be awesome. Uploading Bob as a PDF file, yes. Okay. Aversion. Many people are going to tell you about that they need aversion therapy. How many of you do aversion therapy? Yes or no? You do aversion therapy for anything. You know, Tony Robbins used to talk about aversion therapy like you associate something that you really want, like a piece of pie. You associate it with something disgusting like a pile of manure, and you create these connections. But I don't think aversion therapy is very healthy or very good for us, because you're creating an additional fight. You didn't get rid of the desire for the piece of pie, or in our case, for the wine or the beer or the drug. If you're doing aversion therapy, you just created an additional conflict. So their brain and their body now is fighting. I want to drink, but all I can think of is poop or throwing up or whatever it is. So I did aversion therapy with someone on a radio show in Sacramento. He called into the radio show and he knew they were friends of mine, and he said, would you have Wendy come in and make me quit chewing tobacco? And I want her to make me throw up every time I think about chewing tobacco. And so I said, well, it's not a real good way to do it because it's going to create more problems, but I will do it, and we'll do it on the air live. But I want him to come into my office the next day so we can do it right. And on the radio show, I explained that this is not the best way to do it, but we're going to do this anyway. And then he's going to come in the next day, and we're going to do it the right way by releasing completely his desire for chewing tobacco, which is very addictive. It's very hard to quit chewing tobacco, apparently. Way worse than cigarettes. So we did the session that he said he wanted to throw up. And so I asked him when he was really sick in the past, when was a time that he had been super, super sick, and it was, college and drinking so much and throwing up and everything. And I had his mind remember how that felt and how horrible it was in his stomach that, oh, God, he did it again, and now he's so sick. And then I associated it with the chewing tobacco, took the can of it and waved it under his nose. And even telling the story, it was so many years ago, but even telling the story now, it just turns my stomach. So I'd wave it under his nose and talk about him puking. And the producer, Scott, was holding a garbage can because the guy was puking during the show. So that part of it worked. But for me, like whenever I walked into a convenience store and saw cans of chewing tobacco, still, even to this day, I still have that association. Pretty tough. So aversion therapy, do you really want to do that aversion work? Paul McKenna, when he was on Ellen DeGeneres' show to help her stop smoking, he did aversion therapy, and it was just horrible what he did. Her mother had died of lung cancer, and so he told her in hypnosis that when she would think about having a cigarette, she would immediately think of her mom and how horrible it was that her mom died of cancer. She would also think of her lungs being black and diseased, and the smoking having how it hurts her lungs and how it makes them all black and painful and all that. So now you will have 1,000 thoughts of cigarettes all day long. And every time you have that thought of cigarettes, consciously or unconsciously, you are associating it with imagining your lungs being sick and black, and of your mom dying of cancer. Oh, whew. Bad, huh? Because we wouldn't want to do that. We wouldn't want anybody ever to imagine their lungs being sick and diseased and black, or to trigger the sadness and grief of your mom's death. So there's a much better way to do that. Absolutely. Bob says a woman was told she would be sick if she ate or smelled pizza. Guess what happened when her husband and son ordered pizza one Saturday night? Bob, who was it that told the woman that? Whose work was that? And Vanessa says, I don't do aversion, I stay on the positive. Absolutely. And Jared says, Paul McKenna does aversion therapy. I agree, it creates another layer. So do you want to do aversion therapy? Tell your client, if they ask you for it, say, as a last resort, maybe we'll think about some things that we could do that would make you absolutely not want to drink anymore, or make you never ever want to smoke pot anymore. But I'm pretty confident that we're not going to need to, because the process we do makes it so healthy and so happy to not do it, and it really does get rid of all the triggers and it gets rid of all the cravings, that we're not going to need to do aversion therapy. But you know what? If there's a point that you say, yep, we got to do it, sure, we'll work on that. But hopefully you won't do it. Bob, tell me who did that to that woman. Oh my gosh, it wasn't you, right? So you guys are learning a lot from each other. I really appreciate all of your participation and your help. Okay, so my other note, the last thing on our Class 4 page, is personal issues to work on in future sessions. So I would say use the workbook as the core program and go through all the elements of that. There's a lot of sessions there. You probably will be doing most of them, and some of them they're going to be listening to on an audio as an MP3 at home. But once you're done with that, or sometimes in between, you may need to do some other things for some personal issues, such as regression to cause, because they may have some trauma in their life, forgiveness, which they may need to do if there's a lot of really difficult things. They have conflicts with people, relationships that are broken up, or blaming themselves for all the horrible things that have happened, which I guarantee you they do. So work on forgiveness little by little. Help them forgive themselves as well. And like I say, there's a forgiveness book that's a 4-session plan, or the forgiveness audio that is in it's on the page in the Addiction Project that is a password protected page that has the audio downloads and the things to print out. Okay. Let's see, what did I not do yet. Oh, the swish. We didn't talk about that so much. We did. I think we talked about it in yesterday's class or the one before that. But I want to demonstrate the process, and I would like you to do it without a script. So I think someone, might have been Ed, had wanted to have a script for the swish. I would rather you just do it based on learning it properly. Bob says it was in the USA. A weekender certified therapist. Oh, God. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Sure is a lot of room for good training for hypnotherapy, huh? I know. Boy, and all the home courses that say, you'll be certified. Woo-hoo. Whoa, in one weekend. Oh, boy. Bob used all capital letters saying no. All right, so the swish process. I know we talked about this before. We're going to review it again, and I'm going to give you the process again. And maybe have you do it with your eyes closed, because we have about 10 minutes left, and let you really experience it. Bob says forgiveness, similar to the 5-path third phase. Well, I will tell you that I don't know how they do forgiveness, because I have not taken the 5-path or 7-path or 9-path or whatever. I've heard that it's really brilliant, but I don't know what their process is for forgiveness. So mine may be very different. Or it could be very similar. All right, so the swish. And here's how I would do it with a client. So we're going to do an abbreviated version, but you're going to get all the elements of it. So pay attention. All right, so what I'm going to ask you to do in a moment is just to imagine that there's a screen in front of you, kind of like a TV screen, or it could even be just a picture frame, but it's something that is kind of a square image that's going to have some things from your life that we're going to talk about. But then I'm going to ask you to create another one right beside it that's going to have some other things, and then I'm going to have you move those around. So I want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. And just let your body relax. And again, this is the shortened version. So in front of you, I want you to imagine that there's this screen or picture frame or TV in front of you. And I want you to put on that some of the things that are really difficult for you right now about your addiction issue. The cravings or the failures or the sadness. I want you to put things on there that represent you feeling and experiencing those things. You might have several different images of yourself. One being how sad you are that you haven't been able to do it, or one image that might be the relationships that you've hurt or the things that you've lost in your life. Or maybe you just want to have something on there that's about how angry you are that it's still going on. But I want you to be really honest and just keep putting images of those things that represent those. They might be objects or people or just yourself, but put all that on that screen. And just notice it on that screen. If there's emotions in there, voices, are there sounds? Are there any other things that are there? Phones ringing, or people badgering you, or you being hungover, whatever's on there, put it all in there. Good. Now I want you to take that screen and move it off to the left. Good. Now right in front of you, I want you to create another screen, which is a nice, fresh, square screen or TV. And on here, I want you to put the new outcome, the images of what you really do want to feel. Who you are now that you're healthy and strong, happy, feeling that power that you always knew you had. And I want you to put those things that represent how you live your life. Eating healthy foods, creating friendships with true and honest people, surrounding yourself with the joy and the accomplishments and the things that challenge you to be a better person. Now you might have several images of you on that page doing different things, experiencing life more fully and waking up happy in the morning, whatever it is, making money, being wealthy and successful. Put those all in there. Good. Now I want you to take this good picture, the new outcome, and I want you to shrink it down into a little tiny square. Now, bring that old picture that was over on the left and put it right in front of you. And in the lower left corner, I want you to put the little tiny square. The one that represents you, who you are becoming, and who you want to be in the life you want to live. Now, when I count to 3, I want you to hear a sound in your head that's like whoosh. And when I count to 3, that little tiny square is going to get big and it's going to cover the entire picture. While at the same time, that old picture, the things you don't want, is going to get very small and shrink down to the lower left corner. They're going to trade places. So let's try that now. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good. Now you're looking at that new picture and that outcome, and colors are beautiful, aren't they? The voices are happy, the smiles are amazing. Now I'd like you to reset it. So anytime I ask you to reset this image, I want you just to let cool blue water flow down and wash it away, and it resets so the old picture is there in front of you. In the lower left corner is that good, happy outcome picture, the thing you want. We're going to let it switch again. Ready? 1, 2, 3, swish. Wow, now that beautiful image of all the things you love, the feelings, the sounds, the music, the voices, it's all there. Now I want you to reset it again. All the cool blue water, reset it. All right, the old picture is there in front of you. Now I want you to drain all the color out of that picture. So right now, it's just the weirdest thing. All the color drains out, and it's all in black and white. On the count of 3, I want you to switch it again. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Swish. There's that beautiful outcome picture. Oh, my God, it's the life you want. But look at the colors. Aren't they like the most amazing colors? They're so bright and beautiful, and there's like sparkly little reflections of sunlight in there. Now reset it again. Good. Cool blue water. Reset it. And now I want you to make the sound crackly. Any sounds that were in that old picture, make them all crackly and kind of like bad reception on an old-fashioned TV set. Crackly, crackly sounds in black and white. Now you're going to switch them again. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Swish. Beautiful. Now make the sound so beautiful in this new image. It's like music, better music than you've ever heard. Notice the sounds of happy voices and laughter. Maybe there's sounds of nature, of the gentle breeze through some trees, or a little brook that almost makes music as it moves over the little stones. Good, it's a beautiful picture. Good, now reset the entire image. Cool blue water comes down, washes it all away, reset it to the old image, which is the old one. It's crackly sound, it's in black and white, and the picture's kind of breaking up. There's some jagged lines, they just can't get, there's no reception, it just isn't working. You kind of try to see it, but it's not there. In fact, the more you try to see it, the more crackly and weird and snowy it becomes. And now make the sound get dimmer and lower, and even the grays are getting really dim and gray. Okay, now switch on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Swish. There's the image in front of you, brighter, and the sounds are even better now, and you can just feel it. It's as if it's sending energy to you, and you're seeing yourself in that image, your awesome self, doing the things that you know you really love. Wow. And notice in the lower left corner, that little box getting littler and littler and littler, tiny and tinier until it's a speck and it's gone now. So looking at these images of yourself right now, the colors, the sparkles, the smiles, the sounds of happiness and of nature and of all the things you love, you want it so much. You want it more than anything. And in a moment, I'm going to let you step into it. And you're going to be inside of it like you're inside the most amazing movie. And you're going to feel the colors and smell the smells, and the sounds are going to just be infused into your soul. Are you ready? Step into it on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Step in and let it surround you and feel that you're part of it, and it's all around you, inside of you. The music is singing in every cell in your body, and the sounds are just so amazing. This is what you love. This is what you crave. This is the healthy life that you want. You've always known that, and you've always wanted that more than anything ever. And it feels so right. You know with every cell in your body, this is what you want. This is where you deserve to be. This is the place that you want to live your life, isn't it? Yeah. Good. So now I just want you to let yourself be infused with all of that, the beauty, the gratitude, the love, the experiences that you want to share with yourself, your family, your friends in the world. And then in a few moments, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes, bring your energy and awareness back here, but just let it be like this is all over you. It's just stuck to you and it's infused in you. Ready? So bring your awareness back to the room, and when I count to 5, bring all that energy back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, we would go a little slower if it was a client. So on 5, wide awake, refreshed, energized. Open your eyes. Take a nice deep breath. So now go ahead and tell me what the best thing was about being in this beautiful life and doing the things that you really love to do. Okay, so the point of this is that we created a new memory, and we have talked a lot about creating false memories. We created an entirely new memory that is built on a lot of the things that they have told you about, and we put them in the outcome picture. But it's like we wrote it over the old picture, which was the cravings, the anger, the failures, all the guilt. Remembering that in the 12-step and the rehabs, that's where they live the entire time, is in that old picture, rerunning it, rerunning it, rerunning it. But now you get to wipe it and put something else there. So if their brain was going to go back and be triggered to remember the things that were in those old scenarios, their brain is instead going to bring up all the things of what they love and the suggestions you made about the healthy body and all that. So probably a little bit different and a little bit more spectacular than the standard swish, but I want to put as much into it as I possibly can. Make sense? All right. Questions, comments, thoughts, ideas. We are done for today. So just if you have any other thoughts or feelings that you want to share, thank you for your participation. Of course, you know, what you guys are adding to this is absolutely amazing, and it's needed. Can't do it myself, right? I could try, but I would go crazy. So I need your help. I really need everybody to assist in building this program and sharing all the resources and everything that we can. Bob says it's good to use a really strong VMI incorporating all the senses as possible. Absolutely. So you notice that I would talk about the sounds, the music, and almost how the music feels, you know, and talking about a stream, that there's water that's making sounds on the rocks on the stream, and the feelings and emotions, how much you want that, what it's like to live in that healthy body. So you're creating some kinesthetics, and use as many of those as you can, including spiritual aspects of it, you know, what it really means for you to just be this amazing person that you were meant to be and living your life with this purpose and such. Okay, anything else? I will give it another couple minutes for any chat, questions, or comments, or just general awesome things to share with each other, and then we'll be done for today. Then we have one more class tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll go over the workbook. So I will get a workbook uploaded. Of course, part of the purpose of the training is that the materials that you buy are bought from me, the brochures, the workbooks, things like that. So I'll upload the workbook, but it's not to make copies of. It would be very expensive to make copies of. The first ones I made cost over $20 each because I was only getting a few made, but now that I'm doing in very big quantities, I can sell them to you at a much lower price. Jared says, I like the way you use a swish, fading the picture, screwing up the old soundtrack, rising out, etc. Susie says it was a fabulous version of the swish, really enjoyed it. Replacing the addiction part with a different frustration I had with myself. Very good, yeah. And that was a very short version. You know, I probably would have spent a lot more time on it with a client. Bob says, if someone's a smoker and has both alcohol and cocaine addiction, would you work on each issue separately, one at a time? I'd probably let them keep smoking, seriously, for now. But I would get rid of the alcohol and cocaine. Those go hand in hand. If you do an alcohol, you're gonna if you do both. If it's someone who does alcohol and cocaine, they go so hand in hand with each other. They work brilliantly together. I did that for a couple years when I was in my early 20s. Oh boy, that's a never-ending fun fest. Don't say that to your clients. But it's, yeah, you don't want to be doing either one because one triggers the other. So you're going to get rid of the alcohol and cocaine. Let them keep smoking so that they don't have to totally freak out because smoking's a tough one. We'll let them have that for now. We work on that later. And what else? Okay, I think that's it. I think we're awesome. Hand in the air. High five. Let's go for high 10. Yeah. Put your arms around yourself and say, oh, I love me. You, me. Yeah. Be grateful for what you're doing, the work that you're going to do, saving lives, repairing families, having fun, making a lot of money, feeling very proud of what you do, and being very successful with it. Big, big goals. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a fabulous day. I will see you tomorrow for class number 5. Yay, yay. Bye.